So there are other things that can look like autism that are not autism. Hey, make sure you subscribe for more hacks in the future. Well, I'm so excited to have everybody here tonight. Um, Tonight is all about the hacks that I learned for working with students who are deaf with autism. This is just kind of like some of my favorite take homes from our recent training, our recent master class that we had. So before I go on, let me just do a quick introduction. I'm Stephanie Kesson. If any of you are new to this Tuesday hack night. So what is a Tuesday hack night? Tuesday hack night is when I open up my Zoom room and I just talk about some of my favorite hacks to be able to just kind of like do this job well, work with these students well, when it's a big job, and sometimes we just need little hacks. We need life hacks. And it is amazing to be able to come together and share some things. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that I have recently learned and some resources to be able to share with you. Did anybody attend our masterclass on working with students who are deaf with autism? I really, really appreciated Kelly Anderson. Tonight, my purpose is to kind of share some of the ahas and takeaways that she shared. I'm not sharing anything new or different. I'm just kind of doing some of my own personal take homes from that session because I am not an expert in working with students who are deaf with autism. Um, and many of the things that she said, actually, I watched the training again this week and just watching it for a second time, I thought, wow, this is just really some easy things to incorporate and just some really great things. So if you haven't watched that training yet, I highly recommend it. I'm just going to give you a little taste. And if you want the full thing, it is part of your membership for the Professional Academy and the Friend Academy. Hopefully, you all know if you are a member of the Professional Academy, your parents can get the Friend Academy for free. So I always like to explain this to people because I think it often gets overlooked and missed in your membership. The parent program is called the Friend Academy. It stands for Family Resources and Information in Education in Navigating the Deaf Journey. I mean, it's a very long acronym, but it is our parent program. And the purpose of it is to be able to walk alongside parents in this journey for them. Any parent can join our Friend Academy. And I love when it comes from you because parents, they don't know how to filter out like what's good. And this is an opportunity for you to walk alongside of them and say, hey, I've got this for you. And let's go check out this training together. Let me show you this work that I'm doing with your child. And then it just supports you and helps you support them better. If you have a parent that has a child who is deaf with autism, I mean, what better opportunity for them to come in and get a great training and get an introduction to the Friend Academy. So from this master class that Kelly taught us, so this was two 90-minute sessions, which is just really gave us some great time to get an introduction to what does it mean to have a student who is deaf with autism. And then the second session was some teaching strategies, and then there was lots of opportunities to ask some questions. What I learned are some mistakes that is very common to make. So not only me, but I see often in the field, and then some great tips and some great ways to modify the mistakes and fix them. Mistake number one, diagnosing a student with autism before ruling out other possible reasons for the behavior. So there are other things that can look like autism that are not autism. And before we diagnose with that autism, we need to pick out some of those other things, or else they can get missed and people can dismiss what is actually going on. So who assesses for autism is a school psych or an autism specialist, but we should never have them assessing our students on their own without us being able to be there to kind of help pick apart some of this stuff if possible. Or at least when we see what their report is or anything like that, we really want to be able to consult with that and look at that and talk about that with them. Because again, we've got some things that we need to rule out from a diagnosis. One of them, language deprivation. So language deprivation can absolutely look like autism, but it's a language issue. It's not an autism issue. So Callie talked about that when a lot of times when students have language deprivation, they present like they're autistic, but once they start getting their language and they start building that and having that expressive and receptive abilities, then those autistic characteristics and tendencies disappear and reduce and even dissipate. Here's another big one is the vision issues. This was just so like hit home so much for me. Um, it's very much like our kids with hearing loss. Where I live, maybe it's different than where you are, but oftentimes I will get kids that are in first grade, second grade, and all of a sudden they come in with a referral for hearing loss. And maybe it's the end of the school year. And I'm like, what how and they'll be diagnosed with a hearing loss. And I'll be thinking, what how come hearing was never tested before? And they will have speech, they will have been in speech, they will have maybe had some special ed services. And I'm thinking, why wasn't hearing just the very, very first thing that was ruled out? And we can say the same thing with vision. So we just want to make sure that a vision issue is ruled out. So you can have students who don't make eye contact, who only look down, who are even stimming, anything like that. And it's a vision issue. The other thing that we want to make sure that we rule out is charge syndrome. So if you are familiar with charge syndrome can definitely present, can look very much like autism. But charge syndrome will almost always be hearing and vision. And so if those kiddos get diagnosed as having autism, then their vision issues are not necessarily addressed. And that is a big part of their needs. Valuable to know that many of the techniques that are used with kiddos who are deafblind are the same techniques that are used with kiddos with autism. They are used for different purposes. Deaf with vision issues, my interpretation is we're kind of trying to make their world bigger. Whereas if we're working on students who are deaf with autism, we're trying to make their world less, almost smaller, but less chaotic, more controlled, less stimulating. So different goals, but similar techniques. Mistake number two, identifying the primary disability without identifying the primary need. So let's dig into that a little bit. When we are looking at if we've got a student who is deaf with autism, or maybe it is autism as primary and deaf as secondary, how do we know which one we need to kind of put on top? So Kelly Anderson's perspective, I thought, was really, really helpful with this, is we want to identify what is impacting their access to their curriculum. Is it that they can't hear, or that there isn't already things in place for them to be able to access it? Is it the hearing issue, or is their autism their barrier? So she had the example of in a deaf school, in a deaf classroom, a student's got visual access because that's the environment that they are in. But the autism might be preventing them from being able to really engage in their environment. So is there an environment there where your student is that they are able to access their environment? And if so, what is the need? Is it the need that's the signing support, the teacher of the deaf support, or is it more like being able to break through the autism? Oh, I loved this. I'm wondering if this resonated with anybody. Mistake number three. This is trying to get attention and like waving right in front of a student, right? Waving in their face to try to get their attention. And this one I've seen students do with each other, and it kind of cracks me up, where they're trying to get attention to each other, and so they literally will grab their friend's chin and they'll like turn the chin to try to grab the attention of somebody that they want them looking at them. We don't want to be doing those things to try to get attention for our students. First of all, it's just, we've got personal space. We don't want to do this waving. But it's not attention grabbing. It's more of just kind of like this. I want to say it's kind of a yelling, or it's kind of a intruding on boundaries type situation. If you remember this from her training, she talked about being able to, if you're trying to teach something, you want to get a student to look at something and lock in on that. So maybe you're going to take whatever it is that you've got, maybe your timer or your math or your whatever you've got, you want to put that really close for the, and not like right in their face, but you want to get their attention with that item. And then you're going to bring that item up to your face and then up next to your face. And then if you're signing, then you want to be able to sign where they can see the item, see your face, and then see your signs all right there. But what you want to do is you want to be able to hold up whatever it is that it would be attention grabbing for them, get them to lock in on that, bring that up, and then be able to sign or say whatever it is that you want to communicate. I thought that was a great tip. I just loved it. Mistake number 4, he doesn't need a visual schedule because he knows the routine. Kelly spent quite a bit of time really talking about the visual schedules and different ways to be able to do a visual schedule, whether some students need the whole day lined out, some students just need a certain class or a certain activity that just cause students to have anxiety or stress and maybe melt down. Then just being able to outline that visual schedule for that. She shared how for a lot of students, it might not be enough just to list in order what to do, but to be specific so that they might know, okay, I need to 1, 2, 3 math problems. And then they can check that off. And then they know that when those 3 are done, then they will move down to the next one. This was a really great section in her presentation. She spent quite a bit of time with it, and I thought it was really helpful. She did talk about how, this is great for us. I don't know if anybody else gets anxiety with the schedule. If anybody kind of checks their calendar and checks their calendar again, she talks about how we as people who are not neurodivergent still can have anxiety about what our day looks like, what happens next. And for our students who get anxiety with the planning, to be able to have that schedule is just such a comfort sometimes. It's just such a security. If it reduces our anxiety to be able to have that, then how much more is it for our students? She talked about the ability to just always have that present for them, to be able, different ways of having the schedule, timers and being able to put a timer on. She talked about some timers are rigid. If you set a timer for 30 minutes, well, what happens if the fire alarm goes off and now you have to leave the room, but there's still 15 minutes left on that timer? That might cause a problem. So she talked about being able to create some timers that have like little manipulatives that you can take off. And so then if somebody comes in and they're talking with you and now the activity is going to be longer, then now you don't have that rigidity of having to keep to that other original timer. Or if something needs to go fast, then you can speed it up. I thought that was a really great tip, and she showed how to kind of make some of those. So schedules are very important for our students who are deaf with autism, and the more visual they can be, the better that is. But visual schedules, I think sometimes we struggle with a visual schedule because I need to have a concrete picture of everything that I'm doing. I need to have a concrete picture of each person. And then I maybe take the pictures, but now I've got to go get them printed. And maybe it doesn't get done because I haven't had the time, or whoever has been assigned to it hasn't had the time. I showed last week the printer that I'm taking to Mexico when I visit the school, the program. I'll be doing a site visit and connecting with some of the teachers and staff there. And one of the things that I'm bringing is this little mini printer. This is a great way if you need to do any type of picture of anything or visual schedule. It's really quick. You take a picture with your phone and then it shoots it to this little mini printer and it prints it off right there and it makes a sticker. So that's another great way to use that little mini printer. It does not have to be a perfect, beautiful, laminated, gorgeous thing. You can just do a little drawing and have it just be outlined or just a visual cue of what it represents. To modify a behavior, we don't want to make a set of rules and a list of don't do's. We don't want our students to constantly just hear, no, stop, don't do that. We want to program in them the behavior that we want to have. So this is where she spent a whole hour talking about some of these behavior modification techniques. She talked about social stories, power cards, and comic strip conversations. Now, a social story is the main one that I'm familiar with. The power cards. I loved the power cards. Power cards is where you get a person or a character that your student really adores. And then you make the story that's based on that character. So she used the example of the Olympics are coming up, and she loves the figure skating. And so her idol is a famous figure skater, Michelle Kwan. And so she's got a picture for her power card. She's got a picture of Michelle Kwan. And then she has a whole story about how Michelle does not want to get sick because she wants to be able to perform her best. So she goes to the bathroom and she always washes her hands to make sure that she does not get sick. And everybody else appreciates Michelle because she is washing her hands and she is not getting sick. And so it's taking those skills and that behavior, but it's ascribing it to somebody that your student really loves. And maybe it's a character, maybe it's a little hero or a cartoon or anything like that. But she shows how she makes this card and then she writes the script, but she assigns it to this other person. And then the other behavior modification technique, which was just so brilliant and so great, is this comic strip conversations. And what I loved about comic strip conversations is that you can absolutely do it on the fly. I'm a big person on no prep activities because I know we're short on prep time, and if we have 20 students or more on our caseload, it's just really hard to prep for 20 different activities. It is where you draw a comic strip stick figures or whatever of the behavior that you are working on changing. So you draw, and she has a whole formula. So this is great. If you missed this training, it's fantastic to go back to this because she talks about the formula about you identify the behavior. And then you identify the feelings that people get when you have that behavior. And then the result, what happens with that behavior. And then you go back down again, and then you do it again, and you do the behavior that you want to see, the feelings that people have when the behavior is right, and then the results of that behavior. In her example, she had a student that always liked to touch people's hair. So she said, so the comic is this little girl, and then, oh, I want to touch her hair. And then the next one is this little girl with this like, frowny face. And she says, she's got this thought bubble. She says, I don't like it when she touches my hair. And then she thinks I am going to go away from her so that she doesn't touch my hair. So the next bubble is the girl walking away. And then you've got the student who said, "Why is she leaving? I really wanted to play with her. I wanted to touch her hair." So that this gives like the current scenario. And then the next one down, you give the desired scenario. So the desired scenario kind of starts off the same. Oh, I really like her. I really want to see her hair, but I know she doesn't want me to touch her hair without asking. So I will ask her. So then she asks, and the little girl thinks, "Oh, I'm so happy that she asked me. I will do this." And so then it gives that different result. And again, what's great about it is that she kind of showed how she can literally just say, "Oh, let's make this comic strip right now." She could draft it up right there on the spot, and then she could keep it, and then the student can read it and go through it every morning, every day, or whatever. The other thing that she pointed out is if we have students that aren't readers, you don't need to have any words on there. They can just be like a thought bubble with just kind of like an expression or feelings or the emotions. She also showed a great app, Explain Anything. And this is where you can take your phone or you can take your iPad or whatever, and you can make a little video. And so then it's recorded inside of this little section. So if you're doing a social story, then they can have that, but they can tap on it and the video pops up. That was a really great free app that she talked about. A lot of times people will think you have to do one or the other, either PECS or ASL, not both. In the training, she talked about how PECS is an official program. So the PECS system is the process. It's a visual way to make language concrete. So it's the process of taking a picture and then handing the picture to somebody and then using that as your way of communicating. So it is something that they are selling, and PECs in general are not necessarily fans of sign language. However, with our students who are deaf, who have autism, it's a different situation here. So you can use both. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can do both. And what this does, I loved this description because it takes the process of communication and it makes it concrete and tangible. So I've got a need or something that I want, but I have to communicate this message to the person. I have to give this person the message. So it's kind of this process of first I've got to find it in my brain, and then I have to get it out and I've got to communicate it. So this is the bridge to communication where they know, here's what I want to tell them. Here's my message, and I am going to physically make sure that you get it. I'm going to hand it over to you. So PECS is concrete, and they know that this is my message. I'm giving it to you right now. Now you have received this message. So it is concrete. It doesn't disappear. It is something that really bridges that language. Now, for our students who, if they have autism, they can go, if they've got a bad morning, if they're feeling upset about something, they can revert, they can go back. So she talked about how having this system always available so that if you have a student who is just starting to break down or have a bit of a meltdown, just starting to lose kind of their control, then this system kind of helps bring them back and helps bridge that communication. But she also talked about a sign is also very visual. So you can do both. You can use PECS and you can sign. You can do both. And she also demonstrated how we can have our sign uh, not disappear. So this was really cool. So if you are telling this is not my expertise. All right. So this is Kelly. This is something that she demonstrated for her training. If you are wanting to say it's time to clean up, you can hold the sign clean and you can hold that there for them. So it gives them that extra second to process what you're signing, and it holds it so that they can see what they're doing, or see what you're saying. So then you can move to the next thing and you can say it's time to eat, and then you can hold that and you can make that just a little bit more static, a little bit more visual, and you can allow them to have that extra time to process it. The spoken word, of course, doesn't have that ability. Once you speak it, it's gone. It's gone. So this is one way to make it visual, but also to make it, give that extra extended processing time as well. This is a 2-session masterclass. So she did it on in January, the first Thursday in January, and then she just did it last week, Thursday. She's very likable. She is definitely absolutely an expert in this area. She has been working with kids for years and years who are deaf with autism. She also has a foster child who has autism, so she's lived it also as a parent. So she's just got some great perspective. That's not the only training that we have that can help with this population of students. So the online itinerant is really leaning in because our caseloads are growing. We're getting more and more students who are deaf with additional disabilities. And we don't have a lot of training in to do that. It is a great thing to be able to partner with other people who have expertise in other areas when trying to pick apart the needs of a complex student. So anyway, it's not only you whose caseload is changing with these complicated students. I'm seeing it everywhere, and it's absolutely the number one question that I get emailed, or one of the top questions that I get emailed about how to work with students like this. Or the next question is working with students whose families are non-English speaking and have moved into the country. Those are the top 2 topics. So we're kind of leaning into both of those topics. But the next couple sessions, the next one is with Arden Norcus. Arden has Usher syndrome, and she is deaf blind. And she is an expert in working with kids who are deaf with additional disabilities. So she is going to be doing 2 trainings for us coming up. The first one about enhancing access for our children who are deaf, deaf blind, and deaf with additional disabilities, which we call Deaf Plus. And then after that, she is going to be doing being able to help calm sensory issues, which again, just a lot of our students have got sensory issues. How do we identify them and how do we support those needs? So those are the next two trainings that are coming up. If you are a member of the Professional Academy, then you have free access into these trainings. If you come up here, RSVP for upcoming events, you can click in here. And this shows you everything that's kind of coming. So these are the bonus trainings, the live meetups, which are done the first Thursday of the month. So you can come in here and you can actually click on all of them and RSVP for them. And then once they're done, then they are recorded and they're put inside your library. So you'll see that we've got these two, January and February, and here are the next ones, March and April. So we've got the enhancing access and sensory regulation strategies. Those are our next two that are coming up. That's how you can register for them. But there's more, like an infomercial. We have a number of trainings that can support you in here. We have had some other autism trainings. So we had Jennifer Hills here before, and she talked about screening, autism screening of deaf or hard of hearing children. Fabulous. If you're wondering about how do you screen, like what are the strategies that we need to use for our students who are deaf with autism, who maybe don't have the language, and how do we weed that out, again, that language deprivation? This is a great training for you. And then the autism and deafness, the functions of behavior and strategies for behavior change. So she's got some other strategies, some really good ones. Jennifer Hills has just opened up a school that is specific for kids who are deaf with autism. So just kind of in awe with all the things that she's doing. Another just amazing person who's just really dynamic and very engaging and encouraging. So definitely check her out. Then we also have a sensory training. Could it be a sensory issue? So this kind of helps you identify, like, our students who don't want to wear hearing aids. Is it because they have sensory issues and that's why they're pulling them out? Could that have something to do with it? Is it they don't like signing? Could it have something to do with sensory issues? So this will kind of help you kind of weed some of that out. And then, of course, we've got our language deprivation training with Kim Sanzo, another great training for you. These are in the library, and all of these are taught in the micro modules. So that means that they are just short, like little 10-minute increments. So you can access them on your phones. We've got the audio. If you are a driving teacher, then you can listen to them while you're going from point A to point B. And then my last thing that I just want to give a little push for is our power hours. I get a lot of questions about specific students. And as we know, our students are complicated. It's not necessarily a one strategy fits all. We've got to kind of like pick apart what's going on. We've got to try different things. And I loved how Kelly even said it took her 2 years to figure something out. So it doesn't always happen overnight. So these are our power hours. This is where you come into the room and you can say, okay, I've got this student, I've got this situation, and what have you guys had this? What did you do? What worked for you? What strategies? What resources? And we just have a great conversation. It's so much fun. And we have these power hours for our parents as well. And that's in that same section, that RSVP for upcoming events, and you can register. So what's going on with our next power hour? Because people are like, I want to sign up for power hours. Tuesdays and Thursdays are tea days. Tea days are online itinerant days. So every Tuesday, anybody's welcome. Come into the Zoom room. We just share some hacks, talk about some of these things. I'm sharing some resources. Thursdays are our trainings and then our power hours. So if you just remember, Tuesdays and Thursdays are our nights. Tuesdays are always recorded and always put into the YouTube channel. Anybody can access it. It's on YouTube. It's for free. If you've got people that you want to share some of this information with, feel free to share it. You do not have to be a member. The power hours are exclusive for members, and they are not recorded because we're sharing some confidential stuff, right? And we're really connecting and we're being transparent and we're a little vulnerable and confidential. So power hours are never recorded, but they're always on Thursday nights. So if you are a member of the Professional or Friend Academy, then we'd love to have you. Again, I really, really, really want to encourage you to watch that training. Watch the trainings by Kelly. She's phenomenal. And then we've got some other trainings as well. We want to really identify what meets their needs the best and how we can just peel apart their onion layers.
Visit our website to learn more about becoming a Professional Academy member. And catch us next week with a new hack for you.